In 2011, I started a new job, and I met one of my new co-workers, Krunal, and we became good friends right away. And I began feeling compelled to start sharing the gospel with him. We just had good conversations speaking about religion. He's Hindu, and I had some questions about Hinduism, and he would explain different things to me about astral projection and reincarnation. But in the process, I asked him if anybody had ever explained Christianity to him, and he said no, but he was interested in hearing. So as I was explaining Christianity, it became apparent that there was a problem explaining the concept of sin to him. He would have an answer for things. So if you talked about stealing being wrong, my friend Krunal would say, stealing is actually good if you stole food to feed somebody who was starving. And if you said that murder was wrong, my coworker Krunal would say, killing is actually good if you killed somebody to save an innocent person. And so I was realizing that my friend was just justifying sin. So I disagreed with him, and I said that I know that there are certain actions and things that happen in this world that are evil, and there's no way you can look at them and say that they're good. And just coincidentally, at that time, there was a local crime in King of Prussia where a man who happened to be Indian as well had a gambling problem, and right at the casino in King of Prussia. And so in an act of desperation, he had devised a plan that he wanted to kidnap a little girl and ransom her for $50,000. When the little baby's mom and father went to work, this man, his name was Raghunadan Yandamari, decided that he was going to go to that apartment. And when he knocked on the door, the grandmother, who was visiting from India and was babysitting at the time, recognized him as a family friend and let him in. The little girl, in an effort to keep her from crying and screaming, this man, Raghu, had panicked and put a rag in her mouth, and she actually ended up suffocating to death. So when I was telling my friend, my coworker Krunal, about this, and he had heard about the story, I said, this is surely an evil thing. It's wicked, right? It's wicked, right? And he told me that it wasn't wicked. And he told me that it was a matter of karma, that that little baby girl in her previous life had done something to warrant her being murdered in this life. I went home and I was praying to God about it. And I guess I was a little frustrated also about, maybe at the time, about sharing Christ anymore with my coworkers. But what happened as I was praying, the thought came into my mind, instead of telling maybe my coworkers who maybe weren't understanding this concept, maybe go to that man, Raghu, who had committed the crime, and maybe the good news of Jesus Christ would be good news to this man. And so that's what I did. I found out what prison he was in, and I wrote him a letter, and I shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we had a dialogue back and forth, and I would visit him in prison, and we would talk on the phone. It didn't happen overnight, but after a couple of years, he was very excited to tell me that he was making the decision to become a follower of Jesus Christ. A couple of years ago, he actually sent me some pictures where he was able to be baptized on death row. When he writes his letters to me now and we talk on the phone, I can just see God's hand on his life, and I just see a love and a zeal for for Jesus Christ. It's not the way that I would have expected God to have worked. You would think that, or at least my assumption was, that he would have been working in my friend, who appeared to be such a good guy, Krunal's life. But in fact, God actually chose this man, Raghu, who had committed such terrible crimes. And this was the man that God had put his heart on and chose to redeem. Even though I know that at this time, my coworker Krunal is not a Christian, I still pray for his salvation, and I hope one day that he does put his faith in Jesus Christ. But I know for a fact that I will be seeing my brother Raghu in heaven, and we will be worshiping Jesus Christ for all eternity. And it's just an amazing thing to witness.